Hello and welcome to episode 46 of the Circling South Sports Podcast. This is Seattle interview series number 6 here with Dave Sims, the TV voice of the Seattle Mariners. Hello, Dave. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Charles. How are you, man?
I'm all right. I want to say happy late birthday. I know I'm a couple days off.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So I'm just going to start off here. So where would you say that your passion for sports started? Because you're not just baseball. People that know you're not just baseball. You've done basketball, you've done football. Where would you say that that passion for you started?
I was about yo big. I mean, I've been around it all my life. My old man was very involved, huge sports fan, and growing up in Philly, we got to follow him around when he was playing softball in the Philadelphia Post Office League, when he was the commissioner of the basketball league, and then we'd go see the Phillies, the Eagles, the Warriors. I mean, I got to see all those generational players back in the late 50s and into the 60s. I mean, and then subsequently was able to, I'd met Walt Chamberlain before he passed and did an interview with him one time when I was doing the Knicks radio, pregame, postgame, and halftime show. Met and interviewed Jim Brown, Willie Mays, Aaron, Bob Gibson, Mickey Mantle, Don Drysdale. I mean, I've met so many of the guys I grew up with, a whole bunch of basketball players. So I've been unbelievably lucky and unbelievably blessed.
So would you say that there was anybody, even particularly from that group you've just mentioned, that inspired you to get into sports journalism and that, to help you inspire you to get into that career?
Well, there were no black guys doing this when I was growing up. And the first one I saw doing it was Bill White, who was a great first baseman with the Giants and the Cardinals and the Phillies. And he was in Philly, I think his last year and a half, 2 years, he was with the Phillies. And some people there's a whole involved story there, but anyway, short story is that he wound up at the local ABC affiliate and started doing sports anchoring. And then he did a couple of Flyers games. And next thing I know, about 2 years later, around 72, I want to say 72-3, he was with the Yankees doing radio broadcasts with Phil Rizzuto and Frank Messer. And those guys were an institution. So, I mean, Bill White's the first, black guy that I saw do sports. As a matter of fact, I just talked to him a few weeks ago on his birthday. So I always tell him, many times during the course of a month, I pay tribute to him. I'll go, fly ball goes, people go deep to left. And I say it just in that same inflection because that's how he called the Bucky Dent home run against Boston in the 78 playoff game. So he was a main guy. And then, of course, all the mainstays during that time were also very big. I mean, Jack Whitaker, Bill Campbell in Philly, nationally, Kurt Gowdy, Jim Simpson, Dick Enberg, Vince Scully, Pat Summerall, Lindsey Nelson. I mean, you just go right down. And I've had a chance to meet most of those guys. And, I call Mr. Scully every year on his birthday. And so it's the late Charlie Jones. I got to work the 88 Olympics track and field with him, Bob Neal. I mean, I've been people I've met over the course of my career, the Hall of Famers in both as on-field performers and in the booth has been pretty remarkable. And again, very blessed, very lucky.
So taking that into account, what was it like for you to join ESPN at the time back then? Because I'm sure things have changed from up until this point. I'm sure things are a lot different. But how is it back then?
Well, diversity, equity and inclusion is tremendous. Now. I started doing basketball games for ESPN in February '91. My big break was doing Temple University football in 1990, and a few months later, so that was September, October, November, and then February of '91, I was on ESPN doing hoops. 93-4 doing baseball. So, at that point, the only black guys I had are Greg Gumbel. Stuart Scott, I think, had just gotten there. Or no, I don't think he had gotten there yet. I didn't think he got there to mid to late 90s. It was a lot. It was a big deal, man. ESPN, it was really, I mean, we're used to it now, but the impact was like, dude, 24/7 sports. This is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And I was doing games on there. It was great. I got to work with a lot of great people, man.
So would you say that there's any contrast between working with ESPN and then working with Fox and FS1?
Pretty much the same crew. I
Huh.
mean, uh, a lot of cats that worked at ESPN have moved over to Fox over the years, and ditto some of the announcers. I mean, I know I've worked a ton of games with ESPN, ESPN Regional with Jim Spinarkle, and I've done games with him there. I've done games with Lenny Elmore at ESPN and at Fox. So it's a little bit of a carryover. There's some rating going on and competition. Hey, I'll give you a couple more bucks. The usual stuff.
Do you have a favorite moment? If you could pick one, because I'm sure there is probably a good amount of memorable ones, from Sunday Night Football and even, I believe from what I read, Monday Night Football. Is there anything that really sticks out to you the most from your time doing those?
So many. I did 7 conference championship games. I did like 10 Pro Bowls. I can remember Baltimore, the Ravens had Brady and the boys beaten up in New England one time, and I can't remember who the kicker was. Was it Sam Cooks, the punter? But a dude, he missed a field goal that would have tied it, sent it to overtime. And on that same drive, the player or two before, I think it was Lee Evans, a tight end out of Wisconsin, and a front corner, right end zone, dropped a touchdown pass that would
Yep.
have given them the win.
Was it Billy Cundiff, the kicker?
That's who it was, Billy Cundiff, yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was like a 40 to 45, 35, 45-yard field goal. That's money for these guys these days, and he missed it. And that was heartbreaking. Another one that was heartbreaking, I remember Bob Trumpy and I were doing a game. Tony Dungy was in Baltimore. It's probably for, I don't know, second, third year he's there. And he's got Roethlisberger and the Steelers beating buses on the team. Pittsburgh's going in for, I think, a tie or lead score. It's a pick. Dude brings it out of the end zone, takes it out to about the 45, 50-yard line, gets tackled by Roethlisberger, fumbles the ball. Pittsburgh regains, goes down and scores. So I think they're leading by 3. Peyton gets the ball back, gets Vanderjagt in a position, and he misses like from 49. I want to say 49 or 45, and he pulled it left. I remember Manning was really PO'd and said something about our liquored up kicker. He
Oh,
was
geez.
really hacked. I remember that comes to mind. I mean, I could go on forever, but I mean, those are a couple that come to mind. It was and I filled in for Marv a couple of times on Monday Night Football because he either had conflicts or didn't want to go to Washington. I remember doing was that a Monday night game? It might have been Dallas, Washington at Washington. And they're like, if this is the football field, the radio booth was in a corner end zone mid-level, so almost field level, so you couldn't see anything that happened down here. And
Oh.
I would watch it off a monitor. That was pretty stupid. That
Oh.
was a bad situation.
Was that trick play that didn't work out?
No, this is going back. This got to be going back to like 2010, 2011, something like that. Just remember it was an interception by Dallas, and I know it was intercepted, but I couldn't see who it was. And I think Washington sealed the game with a pick. Yeah, so it's there's been some good stuff. Oh, I can remember. Oh, there's another one. I remember Reggie Bush going an NFC Championship. I think it was they beat the Bears in Chicago. Or I don't know if it was an NFC Championship game, but I know it was a playoff game. And I remember he took a toss left, cut it back diagonally to the right. And I just remember Urlacher trying to catch him. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, no, football's kind of been my bread and butter for a while, and then I started working with the Mariners again, and everything just started coming back to me. So it's definitely cool to hear about being able to be in person for those games. I remember that Ravens game. I was like, because I've always liked defense, and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those guys, and I was like,
Man,
damn.
that stout defense, man.
So you take those into account. You take ESPN and Sunday night and Monday night, and you said doing baseball in '93 and '94. What ultimately led up to joining the Mariners broadcast team? How did that come to be?
There's nothing deep and dark and secret about it. They had an opening. Ron Fairley retired. They opened it up for guys to put in for it. I was told by, let's say, a friend of my brother-in-law, one of my brothers-in-law, uh, who is, and this guy's now my boss, Kevin Martinez. He was running marketing then, well, still is, but he was like vice president, what marketing anyway. And I'd known him for a while, and I'd done some radio liners when they were students at Syracuse in the late '80s. And he said, "Hey, are you interested in this job?" And I said, long story short, yeah, I put in for it, and I got the job, and here we are, getting ready to start the 15th year. Beating
So,
out a lot of good guys too.
oh yeah. Shit. No, that I mean, because as long as I can remember, it's like there's well, a couple names, that stick out to me, obviously, but it's Dave Simmons. Dave Sims is kind of synonymous with Mariners baseball for me. So, to take that into account, let's go into Mariners baseball here. You got to call two perfect games in one MLB season, which is pretty cool to hear about because I guess that was the first time that an announcer had gotten to call two perfect games in one season. So I believe the first one was against us. I think it was the White Sox. That obviously must not have been. I mean, I think he had to be neutral because I think Joe Buck was calling it on the national level.
Well, what happened was Kenny Albert was assigned to the game, and the New York Rangers made the NHL playoffs that year, so he couldn't make it. So that game was a Saturday. It was a B net game. Yankees Red Sox was the A net game. So we were broadcasting into the great Chicagoland area and obviously Pacific Northwest. And I worked, I worked with Eric Karros, who's a really good first baseman with the Dodgers and the Cubs, out of he's out of SC, I think, or UCLA. I think it's UCLA. Anyway, yeah, we did that, and I had to split that down the middle, and they came to us full national for like the last, I think 2 outs might have been the last inning, half inning, and yeah, you call it, you excited. It's I'd never seen a perfect game live, and it was against my club, but you had to sort of like, and then when Felix, what was it, August 15th, 2012, getaway day game, beautiful day against Tampa Bay, and 1-0 win, and that was great because Felix was, he was at his peak then, he was in his prime. I mean, he almost any time out he could throw, a no hitter, one hitter, perfect game. Well, the Mariners had never had a perfect game, so that was a big deal, and I was really caught up in the excitement of it, and I look back on I might have been a little bit over the top, but I didn't mind. I didn't even mind now because it was that exciting.
Oh yeah.
It was at home. It was a beautiful day. There was 20,000, a little bit less, a little bit more than 20,000 people, and it was just amazing. He was in complete command. He'd get behind the count, he'd throw a breaking ball for a strike. Everybody sitting on the fastball, throw a breaking ball for a strike. He throw a changeup for a strike when he got behind. Then when they were sitting on the breaking stuff, he throw fastball, he'd paint. So it was a lot of fun. But I always say, as cool as that is to call two perfect games, also that was the year we also had the 6-pitcher no against the Dodgers. That's really cool, but a pat on the back and a swipe of my Metro card will get me on the subway. It's big, but it's nice, but it's not life affirming.
Oh yeah. No, it's I just remember being who was I listening to call that game? I was sitting here listening to you call that game, so it was pretty cool. And I remember at least going with Felix. I was at his last game that he pitched, and it was unreal. I mean, obviously the game wasn't this huge thing, but the atmosphere was so going with ballparks. You've been to your fair share of ballparks. Is there one that you can consider your favorite in terms of visiting? The one that sticks out to you the most that you would prefer going to on the road?
San Fran, or I don't even know what the hell they call it anymore, but the Giants' home ballpark, Wrigley, Fenway I hate the view up there because we're at the top of the stadium looking down, so it's a little distorted as you try to call it. But it's really cool, and the Green Monsters, it is what it is, and it's a lot of fun. And they've had, for the most part, since I've been here, they've had good teams, great teams. Where else? Philly, because I was born and raised there, and it was nice to see that new ballpark. Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium, it is like a mall, but it's still Yankee Stadium. Dodger Stadium is, you never can go wrong with that. Those are the ones that really jump out. St. Louis, because of the atmosphere, because they're such great baseball fans, and they're knowledgeable. They appreciate good plays by the opponents. They support the heck out of the Cardinals. Great tradition there as well. Pittsburgh has a lovely ballpark, just right across the river. I want to say I think it's the Allegheny River, Monongahela. They form the three rivers. It's right there, and you look at the skyline of Pittsburgh. And the last few times we've been there, it's been during spectacular weather. So, what we have, our ballpark is pretty much enclosed, but you're looking at beyond the right field stands, and you can put one in the river. You look at the Clemente Bridge. So those are the ones that jump out. I haven't been. Well, obviously, this past year we missed going to Texas and their new ballpark. And if we travel this year, that'll be my first time down there. Houston did a nice job with their ballpark. They got a roof on it, which they needed. So those are the ones that sort of jump out.
When you take into, because they've done some decent. Oh, and even last season there was some remodeling with T-Mobile Park. How would you say it stacks up to the other ballpark? Because I don't know.
Oh, it's right there, dude. It is. It's. I mean, I really like it. I mean, every time we come home, come home after a road trip, it's like, damn, it's nice to be home. This place is really special, and being lucky enough to travel around, you can contrast and compare. I mean, they got just about everything that could go right, went right in T-Mobile, and I can't even imagine any quibbles, to be honest with you. I mean, I've walked around that ballpark and watched from every angle. I mean, and if you've never been to any other ballparks, I can just tell you, we have a gem on our hands, man. It's a great ballpark, and for me in the media, and for print media, broadcast media, I mean, they nailed that. I mean, in terms of workspace allotment, it's tremendous. It's unbelievable.
It's always interesting to think, because they always do a really good job, at least I think, with the fan experience and just making sure it's enjoyable to be there. And I really do want to get out there and see, because I know they did something up near home plate.
Oh yeah, behind home plate. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've seen the drawings. But they did a heck of a job going all the way out down the left field line to the pole, the foul pole, and they put a whole bunch of neat things in. And then to my right, they've opened some open air vistas right on the main concourse level, which are really good too. So again, I've not seen it obviously for a game day situation, see how it works, but what I have seen is very impressive.
So, obviously things were different last year. Um, but on a normal game day, let's say, what does a standard day for you at the ballpark look like? And then if you could compare it to what happened last year, on a normal game day.
Well, this past year they only wanted you, you, X amount of people in the ballpark at one time. In the normal circumstances, I get up, breakfast, work out, read, get online, read everything, make a couple phone calls, and usually get to the ballpark at three, depending on what's going on. Like Service likes to do his daily media session at 3:15 for home games. So I usually try to leave my apartment. I don't live too far away from the ballpark, so I can get there in like 5-10 minutes. So if I leave my apartment at 2:30, get set up, go downstairs, listen to Service, talk to him, with his media spray, and then work the clubhouses, and then put the scorebook together, get something to eat, and then it's game time at 7:05. This past year, home games, I think he used to go at 4:15ish. Yeah, because and they didn't want you in the building until 3:30. So yeah, that's about right, 4:15. So and he couldn't go to the clubhouses. So if we were lucky enough, if they could hook somebody up and put them on Zoom, they did it. And hopefully this year, I anticipate we'll probably have a very similar situation this year, at least to start. I'm praying that second half of the season or sooner, they'll open it up, limited to 5, 2, 5, 7, pick a number. They have to see how they can spread people out, and they already have that in plan on paper, but now they got to see how it's going to work out in reality. And that being the case, and then my other hope is that I'll have, we'll have access to the players that at minimal be able to go down to the batting cage. I can say, yo, what up? What do you got? What's going on? That kind of stuff. And that's a big part of what we do.
So with that being said, is there anybody in particular that sticks out as like a favorite or somebody that is most memorable to you when speaking to the guys, at least whether it be, current roster, former Mariner, is there anybody that really was fun to speak with?
Well, Nelson Cruz, my all-time favorite. I think. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, Junior, when I was here for Junior at the end of his career, 09 and 10. He's always a blast to talk to him. We're friends. I talk to him. We call each other periodically. Seager is sneaky funny. Got a good sense of humor. He's a good dude too. And you can have good conversation with him. For the most part, if he's going bad, he'll talk about it, and he doesn't get crazed like and if he's going good, if he's hot, you just sort of leave him alone, and he doesn't. Not a braggadocious. He's just a good dude. Marco's really good. What's my man's name? Wade LeBlanc. I always enjoy talking to him. Those are the guys that jump out. I mean, I always got along with Cano. Mike Sweeney was here. Mike Sweeney's like one of the all-time nicest people you ever want to meet. Because Junior always says Mike Sweeney, Adam Dunn. Mike Sweeney, Adam Dunn. And the mayor, Sean Casey. They're the same guy. And it's true. They had almost the exact same personality, always up, unbelievably super friendly, funny, and good dudes. You like hanging around them. Yeah, really, really good people.
So if you had to pick some, like the funniest guy in the clubhouse right now, you'd probably say it'd be Seager just because he's sneaky funny, or is there somebody that you put over him?
That's a good question. And we got so many new freaking guys. I would say he'd have to be the guy because, again, we got so many new guys I don't even know. Like we just got a whole new medical staff. I don't know those guys. Barely know the current coaching staff outside of Service, and I know Service pretty well. I know Manny acted pretty well. I know Perry pretty well. Lake, I don't know Lake that well, but I at least been around him. I'm talking about Tim Laker. And then Pete Woodruff, I never got the chance to really get to know him last year. So it's all good. It's a good crew. It's a good crew.
Speaking of that, the newer guys in that clubhouse, what do you think about, this roster as it sits right now? Because obviously, I mean, pitchers and catchers report today, but I'm sure there's still things that could change. What are your thoughts on kind of the new guys? Because it's funny, I've got my picture right here. I got to meet Kyle Lewis at the end of 2019 because I was really lucky, and he was just back near the Diamond Club. So that was really cool to see his 2020. But I mean, guys like Shed Long and potentially guys getting brought up.
Good guy.
What are your thoughts on that roster right now? And the younger guys, I'd say, is like with Evan White.
I like him. I mean, Evan White's he's got sort of a little bit of a dry sense of humor. Real religious kid. As great fielder. He and Kyle Lewis they were roommates in the minors for a while. And it's a good crew. Kyle, Evan, Dylan Moore, Shed, JP. I'm looking forward to meeting Taylor Trammell. I don't think I've met Logan Gilbert. And who's the other guy? Kirby. I haven't met any of those guys. It's a super young team. Glad to have Paxton back. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he can be the bell cow. He and Marco will be at the top of the rotation. A lot to prove. The potential's great. It seems to be great. Hanny's coming back. I just talked to Justin Dunn and Dylan Moore last week. We did a thing instead of a caravan this year. We did all these virtual
things.
and they both, Justin Dunn said, he says, Hanny looks like a freaking animal, man. He looks like he's back. It's back to where he was, if not even better. So that's a good sign. Um, you know, I don't like going out, particularly with a young team. To me, it doesn't even make sense to try to predict how many wins they're going to get. You just don't know,
Mm-hmm.
because for most of these guys, it's no more than the second time going through the heat of a major league season. And a lot of these guys are coming off a 60-game season. There's a big difference playing a
Mm-hmm.
60 and a 162. Actually, 190 when you count the spring training games. A big difference. But there is
Yeah.
potential, and the division. Question marks with Houston. Oakland loses some significant personnel. Houston's what Springer goes to Toronto. Verlander's on the shelf. They need some closing help. I mean, some bullpen help. They're still going to hit. I mean, their infield. My
Oh
God.
yeah.
I mean, their infield's ridiculous. I mean, nobody talks about Gurriel. I mean, Altuve and Correa and Bregman are givens, but Gurriel kills us. So those guys and Brantley. So that's 5 really good hitters right there. So I don't know what their starting pitching's going to be. Greinke, he'll grind it out. He's 37, 36,
Shoot.
37 now. So, we'll see.
It's just exciting, especially with Taylor Trammell, seeing him, and I started to like Ty France once we got him after that trade for Nola. So I don't know. I get really excited, just thinking about the roster, and it's a good point. They're young, so it's kind of hard to put a cap on them, and it's just kind of letting them play. And yeah, I'm sure it must be a whole different thing going from last year to what we're looking at this year. It's got to be a whole different beast.
Yeah,
Uh,
and again, these guys, some of these guys are going through, the intensity of a season, and then let's say they're in it, August, September, and that's a whole nother level, man. And we don't have a lot of guys who've been through that. I mean, a hardcore pennant chase. We don't have anybody that's been through something like that. No, we don't. Murph's never been through it. I mean, Murphy was a journeyman catcher till, he hit big here in 19. Evan White's not been through it. Dylan and Shed at second, JP at third. Seager's seen a little bit. Seager had a taste. I take that back. It's 14 and 16, and a lesser extent 18. And then you look at the outfield. Kyle, no. Hanny, no. And whoever we put in left, no. Pitchers, none of the pitchers. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've seen projections. I've seen projections of 70, 71, and 73 wins so far. But I don't want to even get down on that. I mean, we just have to see.
oh yeah.
You have to play it out.
Is there, speaking of left field, do you think, left field, outfield, do you think we see Mr. Kelenic come up this year at all, or?
I'd be stunned. I think I can safely guarantee we'll see him. It's just a matter of when.
Hmm.
And my guess, and it seems like from everything I'm gathering, May 20 window in that time frame, because those rules are crazy, and I'm not totally up on them, but I know in terms of he can start his service time then, and that buys the Mariners an extra year when he
Oh,
of control. But in the same token, starting on 27th, and that obviously he's going to be in camp. If he rips it up and goes absolutely nuts, who knows? But I know they want to save that extra year. They're planning on him being a superstar,
hmm.
so they're not going to want to give up that year of control. So I would say that May 20 to May 30, 31 window, look for him then.
So this one, not necessarily Mariners related. It's more baseball centered. But personally, what do you think has caused a decline in the numbers of African American players in the MLB and just in the game of baseball? Because it's only 7.7% of MLB are African American, and that's down from 13% in the 21st start of the 21st century. My apologies. So do you have thoughts on that and what's caused that?
Yeah, we could go for hours on this. Game. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who's a baseball guy. I said the games for today's kids, it's not fast enough. and I'm a lifer, and I would agree with that. I mean, if you go back and look at some of the greatest games ever played, I think if you go back and look at the Bobby Thompson home run, October 3rd, 51, a game was 228. I look back, the Pittsburgh Yankees Game 7 World Series 1960 was like 231, and they had 19 runs scored. No, I think it was no strikeouts or something. Um, Sorry about that sound in New York.
No, you're okay.
Um, Father son hand me down. It's not the dynamic's not there. It's way too expensive. Um, we fall behind football and basketball and promoting our guys. And I tell you what, there's been a lot of discussion about it, and I know that D. Gordon, Jerry Manuel have thrown out ideas. Hey, World Baseball Classic, have a team of all Black Americans. Hey, why not? It's not going to hurt anybody. And that would be a good marketing ploy, I guess. I don't have a problem with that. I think the expense, like when I grew up, played in the neighborhood teams. I walked around the playground less than 100 yards away from where I grew up.
Mhm.
There was leagues there. There was another playground a quarter of a mile, half a mile away. Could walk to a good play. When I played CYO. I played high school. Everything now is elite. Everything now, for the most part, is travel. And a lot of
Mhm.
guys, you can't afford that, man.
Yeah.
Then when you get into the sociological stuff, where you have more black single moms raising kids, they don't have time to go out and have a catch. They got to work. They got to put food on the table. Come on. So there's so many dynamics that have changed. And if you're lucky, like some guys, you talk to Shed Long, and he was a good athlete. He was identified, and he was hooked up on travel teams, that kind of stuff. I mean, the Mariners should play their part to provide scholarships along those lines. So hopefully, that'll make a difference, and hopefully other teams in Major League Baseball get on board with that. But those are some of the pinpoints that have affected this situation. I mean, I look back. I was just reading a piece about that in the late 70s. It was like 17% African Americans were in baseball, and one year somebody sent me a list of, I want to say 1978, the top 15 batting averages, like 13 guys are people of color. The only non-Black American was Rod Carew because he's born in Panama, Black American. And everybody, I mean, Dave Parker, now you look at that list, it's like, damn, those are great players, man. Joe Morgan and all those cats. So it's just different, man. It really is. It really is. It's a shame.
And you spoke about it a little bit with the youth. And obviously Griffey took that position with the MLB office. What do you think can be done to start attracting younger fans? Because you did mention a little bit about it, but do you think there are certain things that could be done to start attracting some of the youth of today to follow the game of baseball?
Greater. I mean, I just, somebody said the other day in a discussion we had, or we're reading, you got to get the players out there to basically meet and greet and show that, hey, man, we're here. I have a friend in Seattle is always talking about, a lot of kids think in that 9 to 14, 15 range, they could probably name most of the black players in the NBA, some of it, certainly with the Seahawks, but they don't know who Kyle Lewis is, or that kind of. I think that's the thing. You got to get players in the game in front of people.
Hmm.
And if you have to start, have certain days for youth groups and bring them to the ballpark, have them tour, have them, have a meet and greet beforehand. I mean, you gotta step outside the box, man, and do things differently, and go from there. I mean, it's simple and one hand, and the other, you just got to do it.
I know that I don't know where else they went, but I know there was a little event the Mariners had, I think late 2019. I remember they were doing a little traveling thing. It was Rick Riz and Patrick Wisdom and Justin Dunn and Justice Sheffield, and they were down at South Center, and that was pretty cool to go and meet those guys, just because Justin Dunn and Justice Sheffield, two guys who
They
are
just gotten
young,
here, yeah.
and Rick Riz, I got to speak with him, and now I get to speak with you. So it was pretty cool to have that, and I think that's kind of an extent, of what you mean. But yeah, I think you get these guys out there because that's to an extent. I mean, if you just look at some of the followings, right, for some of the players in the NFL as compared to even Kyle Lewis. I mean, the numbers, there's a difference there. So I think you bring up a good point there. And just having them out there because, yeah, I mean,
No
if I
question.
go out to the park right now, well, if I go and ask some kid on the street, say, hey, do you know who Kyle Lewis is? I don't know what that percentage is. Or, who's your favorite baseball player, and have it be somebody other than, like a Mike Trout or something, guys who are at the,
And
so
even Mike Trout doesn't, is not.
yeah.
He doesn't do a lot of promotion stuff. He said, "Hey, I just want to," and I know Mike a little bit. He said, "Hey, man, I just want to play ball."
Hmm.
But the league, MLB would do well to get him out there. I mean, he's recognized as the best player we got. And hey, dude, we need some help, man. Come on.
So taking that into account, I know we've been talking about baseball here for this part. But do you have a favorite sport that you've called outside of baseball? Is there one that sticks out to you as a clear cut favorite?
Man, I've been so lucky. I don't look at it like that. I get asked that question all the time. I am as a black guy that grew up in Philly with no role models in this field to even consider until Bill White. And if I had said to some of the guys I grew up with that I wanted to do this, they'd have laughed me right off the out of the playground. So the fact that I've had a chance to call major college basketball, host Final Fours, radio, conference championships in the NFL, and doing a Major League Baseball team and doing baseball at ESPN, hey man, they're all good. I'm not in a position to say I like this one more than the other. I've been blessed to have the whole package.
So you spoke about it a little bit, and even when I was talking to you to set this up, you mentioned Coach K. What's your relationship like with Coach K and having that? I believe it's 16 seasons now. I could be wrong, but having being able to co-host with him basketball and beyond with Coach K on Sirius XM satellite radio. Pardon me. What's your relationship like with him?
Well, very friendly and very cordial, very professional. Uh, no, I mean, I got his phone number. I can call him. I called him. I was out for a walk the other day and called him. Hey, man, happy birthday. Called him when he went into quarantine a while ago. No, it's all good. We have a good time, and because of who he is and what he's accomplished, and when the producer calls and says, hey, would you like to join us on basketball and beyond? I mean, I don't think we've rarely have, certainly in the realm of sports, we haven't been turned. I don't think we've been turned down by anybody. I know. I think we put in requests for president. I think President Obama. I know we didn't put in for Trump, but I think Obama and George W. Bush. I think we put in requests for them. Couldn't do it. But outside of that, I mean, we've had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on. We've had Arnie Duncan when he was Secretary of Education. We had Dr. Fauci on last April when the pandemic was just starting to blow up. And then in sports, forget about it. I mean, Saban's won 7 national championships. He's won 6 at Alabama, and I bet we've had him on 4 times since then. We get the Daytona 500 winner. We've had Belichick a whole bunch of times. We get all those great coaches, and then basketball, forget it. Kobe, LeBron. I mean, you name them. We've had the Chuckster on. We haven't had Shaq yet. Shaq, we haven't been. Well, Shaq's making commercials every other day,
Yeah.
but we'll eventually get Shaq. Baseball, we've had many managers: Sosha, Joe Torre, Joe Madden, Girardi. Who else? Football, basketball, baseball, basketball, football. We've had we had the college champions, and we've had the Super Bowl champions. We're trying to get Bruce Arians on before long. So it's been unbelievable. I know who was it? Dabo Sweeney. We even used it we used it last year in our montage. Hey, this is bucket list item now, being on with Coach K. Hey, and Dave Roberts a couple of months ago. Hey, this is an incredible honor to be on with you. So these guys know who he is. They're all sports people, and they get it. And that's been a big separator from pretty much any other talk show that's going on in the country.
So, there's a young guy I know. I went to high school with him a little bit. His name's Paulo Banchero, and he's going to be going to Duke next year. So, just keep.
Oh no, that the dude the 6'10" player. Is he like 6'10"? He's like he does it all. He's like a 5-star
He's
recruit.
about he goes up to O'Day High School.
Yeah, I've heard good things about him. They're
Yep,
pretty excited to have him
yep.
down there. Yeah.
He's a real good kid. I remember because I mean I'm not like I'm not a this big guy. I mean I played football, but whatever. And he played football a couple of years. I mean, imagine that 6'10" dude playing quarterback. He's a big dude. I mean, he was still growing. So, that guy, he was playing quarterback for us. But I was working a game at Lumen Field, my apologies. Um, and he's this big dude's walking by and he recognized me. And he's a real humble kid, and I got to speak with him. So whenever somebody's got some Duke on, or anything Duke related, I'm like, hey, this kid, you're gonna watch out for him. So yeah, Paulo Banchero, he's a real cool kid.
Yeah, I've heard good things about him. Yeah.
Um, so just going into radio as keeping that theme, do you have a preference when it comes to broadcast between radio or television, or is it just kind of
It's two different disciplines, and I love them both, man. It's good. It's just they're just different. Your caption service on TV, radio, you get to be a heck of a lot more descriptive, and you can and I'm clearly I pride myself. Heck, I pride myself in being a homer. You know who the hell I want to win. And I think I there's a level of excitement that I like when I hear guys do broadcasts, and I try not, I get like right to the line before you get over the top. But I mean, hey man, I'm excited to be here. We got good stories to tell. We got good information for you. Sit down, or do what you got to do around the house and listen to us. I mean, I love it. And so it's both medium are fantastic. And again, lucky to be able to do both. And I enjoy doing both.
So with that being said, is there obviously with radio, I'm sure things, you've got stuff ready and prepared, but with games, right? And how long the season is there ever times that you hit a wall, or
Oh yeah.
keeping things fresh, or is it's always stuff that's coming out, or uh
Well, well, just by the very nature of it, especially where we're located. I mean, we travel probably more than any team on the continent.
mhm.
Yeah, you're going to hit a wall every now and then, but you're able to rejuvenate yourself. And to be honest with you, the game is what a lot of times I can remember uh, my first couple of years when I would play golf in Texas, which big mistake in terms of go out and play in the morning at like 7:30, and
Ooh.
as you're at the last 9 holes, it's like up to 90 something degrees. Come back, eat lunch, recover, and then go to the ballpark, and they're ready to fall asleep at three in the third inning. That ain't gonna happen. So I've cut back on that. But the game does pick you up.
Yeah.
But you go on some of these 10-game road trips. You just have to learn how to pace yourself. I learned that the hard way a couple times. So I pick my spots when I golf on the road, and I pick my spots like the intensity of my workouts. I try to work out often, and but you definitely can run yourself in. You can run yourself into the ground. There's no question. I mean, again, you're playing if in a normal year, I get some time off, but basically, I say out of 190 games, I'm doing like let's see, I might miss 90. So 180, 175 games. That's a lot. So yeah, you can definitely pound yourself into the ground. There's no question about that.
Do you have? It's funny you say that because right next to me, I've got my clubs, and I'm by no means am I any good.
Me
I
either, but
just
I
enjoy.
love playing, man.
Oh yeah, no, no. Is
Absolutely.
there a spot around the country that you've been that sticks out to you? Because I know we've got a couple courses around here, but I know they're not the greatest. But
No, no, Washington has good courses, man. And we played Arnold Palmer's course twice. Matter of fact, the second time we were there, the heck year was that? Where are we? This is 21. That's got to be 6 years ago, maybe. And it was right before he died, like 4 months later, 5 months later. But we went to the clubhouse, eat lunch. He was there. As we were eating, he was leaving, and we all stood up and had a receiving line, and it was super cool to meet him. That was such a rush. We played there. Played the place in something Hills, Bloomington Hills, I think it is, in outside of Detroit. Las Colinas, that we stay at the Four Seasons. They have a great course there. They've played the Byron Nelson there many times. Played a bunch of courses in SoCal, a couple in Houston. Where else? We played at a place in Chicago where they used to play the Western Open. I've played at Elevation in Colorado. San Diego's got a Balboa Park as a muni. It's one of the best munis I've ever seen. San Francisco has the Presidio Muni, same thing, great places, and it's one of the perks of the business, man.
Um, yeah, no, that's great to hear. I miss it. I should. Oh well, we're getting to spring, so we'll be back out in the course, I'm sure. Is there? I'm sure there, because you've kind of talked about it. There's nothing really that you've had your fair share of moments that really, you can't just pick one. Is there anything that a couple times that you would pick as, almost bucket list moment from your career in broadcast, or anything that's like the tippy top for you?
Well, yeah, I would have loved to have done a Super Bowl, and I would love to do a World Series. That ain't gonna happen because even if the Mariners make the World Series, it's network. Although I wouldn't mind call if they I take that back. If I'd like to think I could get maybe an inning or half inning if the Mariners make it, squeeze me in for an inning on radio. I would say those are the two top things. Uh, As a newspaper reporter, I covered. Let's see, I've done regional finals and I've done regional finals on radio. That's been with teams. A trip to the Final Four on the line. I've done a bunch of those. That is tremendous. That is such a rush. Uh, that's about it, really. To be honest with you, right now I just like to just want to stay healthy and continue doing what I'm doing as long as I can.
Oh yeah. Um, so speaking of doing what you're doing, um, you've got three National Sports Media Association Washington State Broadcaster of the Year awards. What do those mean to you, and what does that kind of say to you about your work and the level of work that you hold yourself to?
Well, I do hold myself to a high standard. You know what's really cool? It's like that's voted on by your peers. And I don't know who all the voters are, but man, 3 consecutive years. Wow. I am very appreciative. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and it means a lot. I remember the first time. I remember Dave Gorin called me. He runs the NSMA. Hey, and I think we had met years ago. And so I just want to tell you, been named Washington Sportscaster of the Year. Get out of here! Get the hell out of here! What are you talking about? He said, no, seriously. Put it on by your peers. Yada yada yada. I was like, damn, it's cool. And then what was great. What was the first year? So it was 2 years ago. We went to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for the that weekend that they have down there, awards weekend. Meet a lot of guys, young kids like you want to get into business, and a lot of guys I've known over the years, writers and broadcasters, and you just sit around and talk shop, man. It's really cool. And it was a bummer, obviously, this past year because the pandemic couldn't go, and probably this year I'd be surprised if they hold the big weekend, because on paper, what they want to do, they want to have one night for the 2019 winners and then the
Oh
2020 winners on the next night. So I get 2 trophies down there. I said, send them at FedEx.
God, no, yeah. I mean, obviously, everything's been had a wrench thrown into it. Um, on a not a light note, you got to do not got to do you did an article with the Seattle Times on George Floyd, um and the events that took place last summer. How did that come to be? Did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them about it? And how did that all come to be?
I was sitting here about 7 o'clock Eastern time, watching a little bit after. It was like 7:10, and my wife and I were watching Jeopardy, and phone rang, like the old cell phone, and I looked at it. I don't recognize the number, but I saw it was 206. So I said, I'll take a chance and answer it. And then it was a sports editor from Seattle Times. And hey, how are you? Blah blah blah. We're just thinking, in light of what has happened, we'd like you to write an editorial, your thoughts, an op-ed piece on what's going on. I said, yeah, okay. I mean, I've got newspaper ink running through my blood. I mean, I had 2 years 2 internship years at the Philadelphia Inquirer, 7 years working at the New York Daily News. So I sat down and I banged out a draft. My wife edited it, and then I went back and I edited it, and I gave it back to her, edited it. We had a finished product. We sent it out, and they put it on. That was a Thursday. They had it on their website Friday night. It was in the paper Sunday, and it came across real well. I got a chance to say my piece, and we don't have time to discuss all that, but if you read the piece, it's online, seattletimes.com. And one of the things I said, hey, that could have been me, man. I've been lucky over the years not to have any significant no run-ins with police. And I know I know guys who are or have been priests, and they're, if I'm looking at TV, I'm sorry, looking at priests, I'm talking about cops. Yeah, and that was a brutal summer. It was really bad, and it hurt me, obviously, and any black person, and hopefully any human. It hurt you to your core. That's why, world capitals, people were, just outraged and got out and demonstrated and spoke their piece. And we've come a long way since I can remember watching the civil rights movement on TV and the people getting hosed and beaten on and attacked by dogs in the 60s. Come a long way since then, but man, we still got a long ways to go. And this country, it's a great country, but it has never been perfect. It's probably never going to be perfect, but boy, it certainly can work a hell of a lot harder to be better.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do, just being able to read that, I just like to, be able to educate myself on, what's going on and the different viewpoints. I just kind of want to listen before I really, go out and do anything about it. Cause I remember my parents were down, at the one, near the Nordstroms when all that happened, so, uh, I just want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me and all the work that you've done. Cause like I said, whenever I'm here and I turn the game on, it's Dave Sims. So, just able to have somebody who's got so much experience and, so much to say, and be able to speak with you. I really do appreciate it. Um, and just, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, man. Charles, good luck to you. And I appreciate you reaching out, man. Good luck to you and continued success with your podcast.
Thank you.